Hi, my name is Rochelle McAllister, and this is my presentation on character entity references. During this presentation, we'll have a brief overview about what character entity references are. We'll talk about reserved characters, non-breaking space, and additional resources. HTML character entity reference is a special set of characters, a code, which the browser displays as a special character or a symbol corresponding to the entity reference code. The general format of an HTML character entity reference is ampersand, followed by some code, followed by a semicolon, without any spaces in between. Some characters are reserved in HTML, and they have special meaning when used in HTML documents. For example, you cannot use the greater than and less than signs or angle brackets within your HTML text because the browser will treat them differently and will try to draw a meaning related to the tag, to the HTML tag. If you look at this little chart that I have right here, it will show you the symbol and then the description, entity name, and code number that you can use that will support the 5 special characters listed in this table. Another reason HTML character entity references exist is to provide us with the ability to quickly place special characters that aren't available on our keyboards normally. One of these characters that we use all the time is the copyright symbol. So as you can see in my little example slide right here, there are a few different ways that you can make that copyright example render correctly in your HTML documents. So you can either use the numerical code or the entity name. So this one is showing us the entity name, and this one shows us the numerical code. And if you put those in your HTML code, it will turn out, it will render in the browser as the copyright symbol. So it's a very useful, these special characters are very, you want to be able to put them into your documents quickly, and by using the HTML entities, you're able to do that. And so that's another reason that we have these character entities in HTML, not just so that we can type the reserved letters and numbers and symbols. So this slide shows an example of a bit of code that I typed up that will work to show the actual code as it is rendered, as the browser renders it. So say you want to show the code that you use, this div ID equals HTML entities. You want to show this, and you don't want it to just be interpreted by the browser. So to do that, you need to go in and type in the special HTML character entities, and you can see it right here. And that way, when the browser renders, the result of this code will be exactly what you would want it to be. And it's really simple. You just have to put in the code name or number, and it turns out perfect. So one of the most frequently used HTML character entity references is the non-breaking space, and that is put into code as the ampersand NBSP semicolon. And the non-breaking space stops browsers from shortening spaces in HTML pages. So it kind of makes sure that the line breaks the way that you want it to. So for example, if you have a lot of spaces and you want, in whatever you've written, the browser will take most of them away if you do not have this non-breaking space character entity in there. It's used to add spaces to your text. It's used to keep things together, and it's a very good thing to have. It will make your page and the text that you have on that page look a lot more professional as it's rendered in the browser. So here is another example slide for the non-breaking space character entity in HTML. So here I have my code, and you can see that I want to keep all of this together. So I put the non-breaking space character entity information right here where I want the spaces to be. And when the browser rendered it, rendered it like this. You can see the spaces. And another cool thing, and I couldn't quite get the video to work to show you, but when I pull it up in my browser, I can, increase or decrease the size of the browser. And if I didn't have this non-breaking space character entity in here, it would break up this word, of course, and everything in it, and it wouldn't stay on one line. But because I put those in there, it stays on one line no matter the size of the browser. And so that's a really cool thing, and is interesting to learn how to use. So I went and found a lot of information about this topic, about the HTML character entities, and I was able to find some really good resources. So if you want to know more about how to use the HTML character entities in your work, you should definitely visit this first site. It has a lot of good information. And if you just want a big list of all the HTML character entities, this has a great big and very current list. And if you want to watch some video examples, I found this one on YouTube. It's only about 2 minutes long, and it also has some excellent information about HTML character entities. And before I stop my presentation, I did want to touch on one other subject. We talked about the non-breaking space character entity reference, and it does work really well in keeping the wrapping the text and keeping it all on one line and adding space where you want it, but sometimes I read online and in a few different forums that this character entity reference can be abused. People sometimes want to use it to add space in their HTML documents, and that's not what it's for. It's really, really important to remember that and to use it the way it's supposed to be used. It's not meant for expressing margins within your text. There are many different ways to do that. So while it will work somewhat, it's meant to do one thing: substitute regular space characters so that the browser doesn't break up content in an undesired way. It's not meant for expressing margins within your text. Anyway, so I thought I'd just add that little bit at the end. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and good night.